It's been 6 years of podcasting, and without our sponsors, we wouldn't be able to bring these podcasts to you. So I want to thank today's sponsors. And first off, we have the Pretentious Pickle Company of 190 Water Street in Plymouth. If you haven't had a chance to get down there, go down and check out what they make. They have everything pickled you can imagine, from pickled beets to carrots to mushrooms to onions to Brussels sprouts and cauliflower. They even have pickled or pickle flavor cotton candy, I should say. They make it fresh there every day, and you can go in there and check out what they have to offer. And if you're not in the Plymouth area, you can go to pretentiouspickle.com and check out what they have to offer there as well, and they will ship it out to you. Their stuff is delicious. You should check it out, and they are big fans of ours, and we are big fans of theirs. So thank you to the Pretentious Pickle Company for sponsoring today's episode. And our second sponsor today is Moonrise Cinemas. Moonrise Cinemas is a new drive-in in Plymouth, right on the Plymouth-Kingston line. They are located at 428 Court Street in Plymouth, Mass. And they offer a great selection of movies. You can go. It's very family-friendly. I went and checked out the Goonies there. They've had Marvel movies, a wide variety of stuff. And they're really starting to expand. They have had the Rocky Horror Picture Show this coming year. They're doing music on Thursday nights. On Wednesdays are going to be 420 friendly events. So make sure you check out what they have to offer. MoonriseCinemas.com. It's a great venue. They have a beer garden. They have their own food. Their food's phenomenal. And they're bringing back their French toast, which I'm very excited about. So make sure you check out what they have to offer, MoonriseCinemas.com. And if you use code Inebri-art when purchasing tickets, you'll get 10% off. So make sure you go to MoonriseCinemas.com to get your tickets for movies, concerts, and more. And use code Inebri-art for 10% off on your purchase. And now let's jump right into the podcast. Welcome back, Inebri-ites. This is Andy of the Inebri-art podcast. I remember, let's jump on the Wayback Machine. When I was a kid in high school, one of the hottest shows on for all like the artsy, edgy kids was Twin Peaks. And, it has gone away. It's still, came back in like 2017. And today we're joined by one of the actors from the 2017 Twin Peaks, James Grixoni. I got that right?
Yeah, it was perfect.
Right.
Yeah, the last interview I was in, the guy was really sweet, but he didn't say the X, and so he's like, James Grixoni, and I was like, whatever you want it to be.
I'm so bad with names. Like I met someone today, and sure, I can fucking remember her name now, Sierra, but like within 10 minutes, I was like, I have no idea what this girl's name is, and it's just like names hit me and instantly disappear. I don't know what it is.
I do the South Park thing where I'm like, hey, buddy.
Oh,
hey,
yeah.
pal. Yeah.
All
good
the
to see you,
time.
friend.
Yeah. Because we run a lot of events here in Plymouth, and it's like people will remember me and I won't ever remember meeting them. And they'll be like, Andy, how's it going? I'll be like, great. Pal, buddy, friend, how are you? And like just trying to like, you're trying to like coax a little detail out of like, where do they work or who do they know? Like, how do I know this person? And
it's a game. It's a game in itself. Yeah.
So you've been on Twin Peaks. You've been on a ton of stuff. Last year you had Potato Dreams in America come out.
Yeah.
So, like, I mean, you're a young dude. Like, how I feel like you're in it. Like, what kind of projects are you looking to work on? Like, what's next?
So that's a cool question. And thanks for that compliment too. It's really nice. I kind of came into this industry sort of just dreaming big. And I mean, you're a creative guy too. So you know what it's like. It's like you kind of just, put your hands over your eyes and take a shot in the dark.
Oh, for
and
sure.
Hopefully, something lands, and that's what you do every day, as an actor or as a creative. And so, yeah, it was really just, it's all happenstance. It's all luck. And I think it's about like, that's how it was with Twin Peaks. I wasn't even going to go to the audition. And so, I was just like, man, I don't even know what this is for. But I went, and then it ultimately kind of changed everything. And I've been really lucky as an actor, because I'm 33. I've never went to LA. I never pursued it down there, because I think is who I am.
Mhm.
Kind of, I like to think of myself as a deep guy. And I know that LA is synonymous with being very plasticky.
Yeah.
And I've been down there to visit, and I've been down there to work, but like Seattle remains my home. Pacific Northwest is just very romantic up here, and I always love it. But with that being said, there's a huge indie film scene up here. And so I got onto Twin Peaks, and then all of a sudden, all these really amazing, talented people who were filmmakers, even musicians, they kind of sought me out. And as an actor too, is like, when people start to seek you out, that's the ultimate compliment. Because when you're doing the whole like, hey, I'm a dancer for you, please love me, please love me. You don't have to do that. You can have this confidence, and you can have more of a collaborative state of mind.
Yeah.
And that's really what happened with Potato Dreams of America. Is Wes Hurley, growing up in Russia, was a huge fan of Twin Peaks. And so, that entertainment got him through some really difficult times.
Yeah.
And so for me to sit down as a representative for David Lynch and the work that he has done of Twin Peaks, and to, sort of meet a fan that has become a filmmaker and sit across from a table of someone like that, it's really humbling, really exciting, and a great mixture of energy. And so, yeah, like, I'm just opening myself up constantly to new things. And then I've got a couple really amazing projects in the works.
That's cool. I feel that, when we started this podcast, I mean, we had no idea what we're doing. My producer never edited audio before. We had like a $60 mic, which wasn't great quality, but it turns out we weren't even using it right. So it was more us than the mic. And we would just bring on our friends, like artists and musician friends we had locally. And then it goes from, to acquaintances, to friends of a friends, and then people you kind of know, to people you heard about. And it's that weird change where like suddenly you're getting PR requests from people, and you're like, oh shit, I know who that person is. And
yeah. Well, and we both know Clint Morris, and he's my PR and my manager.
Yeah.
And he's like, talk about the universe kind of giving you the things you need, and like being open to it. He was a big fan of Twin Peaks too. And I remember before the pandemic, he pitched this thing to me where he was like, hey, I'd be willing to promote you for your project. And I was like, my man, I may be on Twin Peaks, but I'm not a rich artist.
Yeah.
I'm a struggling.
Yeah.
And basically I kind of I have a kind of a entrepreneurial sort of a perspective. Sounds like you do as well. I was like, can I do work for you? Can I work for you? And in return, can you just kind of help me out?
Yeah.
And dude, that was like 2.5 years ago, almost 3 years ago. And now he and I are, my cat, I just had to put my cat down, and he was one of the first people I reached out to. And it was hard. Yeah. And it still is for my lady, but Clint was one of those people I reached out to, and like, he's consoling me, and like, he's kind of giving me advice. And so that relationship that stemmed from originally being on Twin Peaks has become a really awesome friendship. And I get to meet people like you. And so, it's really exciting.
And I've said it before on the show, and that's one of my favorite things about podcasting. And I never even thought it, I don't want to say thought it was a possibility. I just wasn't even a thing to think about, was how many, strangers come in and friends leave. And then like, I became good friends with he was brought to me as a musician by a PR agent, and now he's working PR for a record company in London, and he sends a lot of acts my way, and he's like, oh, you got to come hang out in London, and we'll hook you up, and we'll get you to it's this cool bar that started a record label, so they're like, oh, we'll get you some drinks at the bar and hang out. And And I'm like,
hell yeah.
I'm there as soon as, the plague is over. But
yeah, right. I mean, and that's the same with me. Is I'm supposed to go shoot a film. I'm supposed to go shoot a gangster film in the UK.
Oh,
which
nice.
like, yeah, dude, growing up and watching like Snatch and Lock, Stock, Two Smoking Barrels and those kinds of movies.
Oh yeah.
Like that was like my age. I was, a teenager watching those. And I remember being like, yo, if I could ever do that for a living, that would be pretty cool. And now I'm like starting to set it up. And yeah, this pandemic's pretty much really, hey, I'm going to use the word. It's really fucked a lot of shit up.
Yeah.
And, at the end of the day, it just seems kind of like, what are you doing? How are you showing up to this disaster? And I think doing things like this is like just amazing. I can connect with you. You're on the other side of the country on my phone, and we can have conversations like this. And so it's like, I don't want this to happen, but it happened. And so how am I going to, ultimately adapt to it?
And it's one of those things is you can see the people who, like us, are proactive and continuing to find ways to work. I mentioned I accidentally ended up doing comedy shows, and it's because a comic friend of mine who'd been on the podcast ways back now, I reached out to him because I was bored in lockdown. I'm like, I can't sit here and do nothing. And I'm like, hey, have you heard about these virtual shows? And he's like, yeah. And I'm like, let's do one. And now we can do them in public. And so now we have like 4 monthly shows. And
that's crazy,
it's
dude.
This weird, like, I didn't mean to do it. It just happened. And but it is that trying to find ways to be creative and stay sharp. And, all the comics were like, the virtual shows kind of suck, but in the same aspect, you're still working.
You're just making stuff.
Yeah.
And I did a podcast with Clint too over the pandemic. And again, I've been really, I don't even know, man. I'm a poor kid with ADHD that, got C's in school. And so I'm meeting all these famous people, and every one of them says the same thing after I talk to them and I kind of get into their heads. And every one of them, and it's amazing. They all say, create for creation's sake and relinquish expectation.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of like how I want to meditate through this whole process, is like, it doesn't matter, man. Like, just make something. And I know so many artists too that like, I kind of want to take them out in the back and just be like, just fucking make it. Like, stop overthinking it so much. Just birth something. And so I think what you are doing, it is proactive, and it's kind of it's like the right thing you should be doing.
And I think part of that comes from the ability to, like I said, we started on a $60 mic. We didn't know what we were doing. If we go back now, we're like, woof, the sound is terrible. But we weren't looking for perfection. We weren't. No, dude. It was more about, to me, the thing that grows you the most is the struggle of doing it. And so I think you learn more from that. Yeah. They're not even necessarily painful. Like, it doesn't have to be painful as such. Like, just the practice of not getting it right. I feel like you learn more from not doing it right opposed to doing it right the first time.
Oh yeah. Yeah. I kind of falling on your ass a bit.
Yeah. Like, oh, I'm not going to do that again. Yeah. How do you incorporate like those kind of lessons into acting? Like, do you kind of like when you're done a take, can you immediately be like, whoa, that was not where, can we do that again?
I feel like usually when I'm on set and the camera is on me, like it's almost like a meditation. I don't actually, funny enough, I don't even have that many regrets in regards to like performance work. Because I got like a theater background too. Yeah. And I feel like you learn that, you're going to go on stage, man. You ain't going to be able to like mess this up and be like, hey, can we stop and start over again? You have to like give it 110%, but then ultimately all the fuck ups that I've ever done have been leading up to the final project. And so I've had auditions, man, that they end horribly. Like, I mean, horribly. One time I auditioned for Jake Gyllenhaal's dad, and I was he was shooting a movie in Seattle, and I was so scared, man. Because I was like, this is a big guy's name, and I was like, I want to make a joke, or I want to say something in this scene that he'll remember me. And it was like a stoner comedy, and I ended up making a Brokeback Mountain joke, completely innocent, completely just because I was like, I needed to improvise and say something for him to remember me. Well, this joke didn't fly. This joke just crash landed into shit. And I remember the casting director's mouth was open. Jake Gyllenhaal's dad was completely straight faced, and he was like, the only thing he said was no more Brokeback Mountain references. And so something like that, that's a major F up. But you learn that, like, hey, maybe don't do this, or if you're going to improvise, do something that's a little more appropriate, or like I showed up early to the call today, and it's just one of those things. It's like you learn when you're late that people get pissed off, or it's just the process of growth, really. We all, like you were saying, we all mess up, but it's just about continuing to move forward. And boy, howdy, I've messed up a few times.
You just threw me when you said boy howdy. There's a podcaster I listen to. She says that all the time. That must be like a West Coast thing.
Boy howdy.
So when projects come your way, are you like, how particular are you about the project? I mean, you're a working actor, so at some point you got to pay the bills. So I'm sure that sometimes you're like, well, may not be what I want to do, but it's paying. But like, do you really try to find a specific type of project?
I think, you got to take what you get. And the older I get, again, I'm 33, and the hustle itself, I find it is a bit more exhausting, also with the way technology's evolved, where it's like you were saying, is like, I gotta have a TikTok, I got Instagram, I gotta represent myself. What is my brand? Funny enough, isn't that weird that we live in an age of infinite expression and connectivity to anyone around the world, and the first thing we think of is, how can I brand myself?
Yeah,
like, get the fuck out of here. Like, just make things. But no, I don't. I'd say probably one of the coolest things is getting more lead roles or more centered characters. And, then working with somebody like Wes for Potato Dreams, without going into the detail of, my character and whatnot, is, as more and more as I get older, I want to explore different facets of psychology, different lives of people. That's kind of why we act. It's about putting ourselves into the, shoes of somebody else and experiencing that. And if you can get lessons from it, all the better. And so for something like with what Wes shared with me for Potato Dreams, it was probably one of the most learning experiences, one of the most terrifying experiences, and one of the most grateful experiences I've ever had. Just because it's like my portfolio now as an actor and as an artist is basically like, I've got such a gamut of characters that I've portrayed. And so it's just really humbling to, whoever the hell wants to work with me. It's awesome. Yeah.
I love that you said scary, because I mean, me and my business partner, we always kind of, we suffer from severe imposter syndrome, where we're like, oh, we didn't do that. And they're like, yeah, you did. We're like, I mean, we did it, but like, sure. We always say that we bumblefuck our way through business. And it's this kind of, people will bring us ideas, or throw us, like, hey, how about you go talk to this person? And we're like, I mean, sure. And we just say yes. Doesn't matter what the proposal is. And yeah, sure, let's do that. And then, like, as we're walking away, be like, all right, so what do we need to learn to do this? All right, who's gonna learn how to edit video, and who's gonna learn to edit audio, and who's gonna hunt down contacts for this venue or whatever it is that we're working on. And it's just, we say yes, and we just kind of do it regardless of whether you're scared to do it or not. And it kind of makes you less afraid of the next thing that comes down the pike, if that makes any sense, because you're kind of like, I mean, we struggled through that other thing, so how hard can this thing be? And it's worked, I guess.
Yo, that's a I think that's like an awesome observation. And I think too, I came from like a divorced upbringing. And, so as I kept growing up, and these things that were supposed to be very foundational for me kind of kept eroding out from under my feet. And I actually remember I was probably in my mid-teens at the time, mid to late teens, where I was just like, damn, shit is always going to hit the fan.
Yeah.
You know what I'm going to do, man? I'm just going to stick my head out, smile, and take a big old load to the face and just keep moving forward. I don't give a shit. And it's like, I get imposter syndrome. I'm having imposter syndrome sitting here with you right now, just talking, but there's this idea also in my head where it's just like, yeah, but you have moved forward so many times to now you have this opportunity to sit here and talk with somebody like this.
Yeah.
And so, no matter how much imposter syndrome or whatever's going on, I'm just kind of like, I still have the physical vessel to like keep moving forward, keep moving forward. And so, yeah, and you learn all these things too, because I never knew how to edit. I never knew how to do graphic design work. And as the technologies get easier, the more you can kind of just adapt and express whatever you want to express.
And there's apps for everything.
Dude, I got so many apps. I got about 50 creative apps on my phone. I don't even have social media on it. I just use my phone just for making stuff.
Yeah. We just got hit by a blizzard, and I work part-time at a craft beer store, and my boss is like, hey, can you take, some funny selfies, to say, let people know we're open. So it's me standing out by like this friggin' giant snowbank, and I used an app, and I cut out like Luke and Han with the tauntaun and posted it like behind me, and it's amazing what you can do with your cell phone. It's just
and I'm a fingers guy too, so I like being able to touch something and drag it versus having a mouse. Like 10 years ago you had to do it all on a laptop or a desktop, so it's a lot easier.
So what is it that, like, what skills are you learning through all of this? You mentioned graphic design, that you were like, oh, I didn't know as an actor I was going to learn whatever. I mean, it's like the Keanu Reeves learned tactical gunfighting and whatever, but like, have you picked up any skills?
I learned tactical gunfighting just on my own. No, I just wanted to. Nah, man. When I grew up in theater, I did a lot of period pieces, and so I would have to go. And I love that, man. Just like I was in cabaret, so I spent all my time studying World War II, Nazi propaganda. I had to be a Nazi, so I had to find a way to agree with people who committed the worst atrocities to mankind. But the craziest part was that I found that thread. Same thing with being a hippie. I played a hippie in a show one time, and I had to study about counterculture. I had to study about what was going on in the 60s and the 70s geopolitically for that to rise up. And it's interesting because I studied all of that. And then I found that there seems to be a very cyclical form to our society because these old things kind of keep coming back up in our contemporary world. So I'm able to look at things different. And then I guess too, more as an individual as well, as like I've studied how to do business with people. I've become more extroverted, more charismatic in the way I talk. And trying to relate to people. Dude, you crack me up because you were like, I work at a beer store, and funny enough, you look just like one of my friends who works at a beer store over here.
Yeah, the beard is legally required to work in the craft beer industry. Yeah, that's a thing. I jumped on a Zoom call like over the pandemic, and there was like me and like two other bearded guys, and this guy jumps in and goes, is this a craft beer meeting or a Civil War reenactment group?
That's so like, great.
Fuck you. That was accurate. That hurts.
Right. See, I would quietly just end the call.
Yeah.
No, because I worked as a bartender. I worked as a bartender throughout my 20s. And
nice.
I was going to say, it's like also being an actor, you have to go get another job. And bartending was my other job. And, the way I got into Twin Peaks was I didn't know what I was auditioning for. And they just interviewed me with no script, and they were like, well, what do you do? And I was like, I'm a bartender. Well, what do you like about being a bartender? And I said, what I've always thought, and that was, as a bartender, you learn that everybody's basically the same.
Yeah.
We all want it. We all want to be listened to. We all want to have a good time, and we all want to have a good drink. And I think that's what they like, because they asked no more questions. They sent me on my way, and then a couple weeks later, I got a call and was like, "Hey, you're on the show."
No, that's funny.
Yeah, everything leads into something else. And,
yeah.
You know.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Our other so it's interesting. I have, growing up, I was an artist. I went to art school. I played musical instruments. I was in theater. I was very much comfortable on stage. Not comfortable talking to people. But on stage, I was fine. And then as an adult, I, started my own business, and, I got into the craft beer industry and working kind of, with alongside them and whatnot. And now, you have to have like a personality working, behind the stick. And one of our other podcasts is called Bar Talk, and it's all bar and restaurant people like hanging out and talking, trading war stories and answering questions. And it's,
hell yeah, dude.
It's you're right. They're bartenders are unique people.
Yeah, they're a different kind of crazy.
Yeah, it's this weird kind of like, I'm gonna deal with people. Some I really like, a lot of them I disdain, but somehow I really like this job. It's weird. Like,
yeah. Oh, dude, man, I made a whole personification for when I was a bartender. I've lived on the East Coast in Philly, and I just remember I came home and I was bartending, and on those shitty days that you just don't want to perform, I'd go up to people and like, "Hey, how you doing? My name is James. I'm going to be a bartender today." And
so kind of like work on roles.
Yeah,
yeah.
You just kind of find a way around it, and dude, yeah, it was so much fun being a bartender until it wasn't.
Yeah.
And then I feel like I actually left the bartending industry at the perfect time. I left it a year before the pandemic hit.
Oof. Yeah.
And I don't, I feel bad for a lot of restaurants these days, but I had my fun, man. I flirted a lot. I made a lot of money. And I got really hammered a lot. I just feel like you can't really carry some of that behavior into the future. Otherwise, you're going to die at 40 or what have you. But I'm really lucky, man. Yeah, I've had a great time.
That's awesome, man. I know you have a heart out, so this is going to be a bit of a short one. But where can people go to find you on social medias, find out what you're working on, all that promotional stuff?
Let me talk about myself even more.
What we do on this show.
It's what we do, dude. I want to hear your bartending podcast though, because that shit would crack me up. Basically, for the film Potato Dreams, I am actually, hold on one second. I'm just gonna find it real quick. Okay, cool. Yeah, so for Potato Dreams, we currently are playing in 8 cities. We're in Los Angeles, New York, Seattle, Philly, New Orleans, Houston, Miami, and San Francisco. And we're just basically, this film is just kind of crushing it all around the country. And then in the next month, HBO is going to pick it up in Europe. Yeah. And basically, like, I was on Twin Peaks, and that's like a big bomb of an experience, like hugely successful. And then to be on an indie film that you kind of go into thinking like, oh, this will be all right. And then for it to get the attention that it's gotten thus far, it's theatrical release, HBO, all this amazing stuff. John Waters said he loved it. Whoopi Goldberg said she loved it. Like,
oh, that's awesome.
People, yeah, it's really like, again, it feels like a dream, but it's just my disassociation. In my what is that? I'm not worthy complex.
Yeah.
But
yeah, man. Whoopi Goldberg watched a movie you were in, like right there. I'd be like, I'm done. I can't even.
I don't need to do anything else anymore. And then honestly too, like, social media and me, it's a love-hate relationship. I'm trying to stay off of it more and more these days. But if you want, you can I always post some goofy stuff. You can find me on Grigsone is my Instagram. Zen Bartender is my other business. It's private bartending.
Oh, no kidding.
No shit, dude. And that's a fun, lucrative little side hustle. But I got Instagram for both. And then, just keep an eye on IMDb and I'll pop up here and there, and I just hope to see you guys again. And I really do appreciate, like, man, I just love having conversations like this. So.
Oh yeah, sure. This was a super short one. Like, you got to come back on when you have more time, and we can like.
Oh, dude, I would love to, man.
Trade some bar war stories, and
Yes. Oh, I have. Yeah, I could sit here for hours and talk to you about bar stories.
So little known thing. Everyone thinks about. People think about Plymouth. They think of Plymouth Rock and Pilgrims. What they don't know is it is a huge foodie and bar place.
Oh, nice.
There's two streets, Main Street and Water Street. And between those two streets, there is at least 40 bars and restaurants.
Dude.
And it's, I mean...
and that's that's like New England food, too.
Oh, well, there's a French restaurant. We got a new Thai restaurant. We have a Caribbean restaurant. We have a Baja California taco place. You can pretty much get everything,
That's great, man. Oh, and see, I'm trying to come up with a show like that called Zen Bartender, where I go to bars, talk to the owners, like kind of have this whole Anthony Bourdain style. So, dude, let's collaborate in the future. Like, let's keep in touch.
Oh, for sure. Because once this ends, I'll give you a couple things to check out that we're doing because we have a YouTube show. But But yeah, so I just want to say thank you for coming on, and so we can get you off on time.
My dude.
And I want our listeners to, if you're in those areas, I'm not, you go check out his movie or get a VPN and go watch it on HBO when it's been released, however you want to hack into that.
Hell yeah.
And, keep following you, man. That's awesome. Thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you, man. I can't wait till we link back up again. All right.
Awesome. And to our listeners, we'll catch you guys again next week.
Cool.
And thanks for checking out the show today, listeners. If you enjoyed the content today, you can go over to patreon.com/Inebri-art to support the show. You can join over there for just a few dollars a month and help us provide this fun content that you just checked out. You can also email us at Inebri-art.com with your questions, complaints, and concerns, or you can find us on all social medias at Inebri-art or at Inebri-art6 on Instagram. And also don't forget to check out our other shows, Bar Talk Podcast, Old Colony Cast, Inebri-art, and all the other shows on the Inebri-art Network, which you can find at Inebri-art.com. So thanks again for listening.